The inaugural We Are Baseline podcast episode starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly episode of the We Are Baseline podcast. My name is Julian Smith, and I'm with Sebastian Weeder. Sebastian,
how's it going?
This is your first time on a podcast. How do you feel? You're on
I
air.
feel I feel incredible. I'm so excited to start what hopefully is a long journey of Penn State football and all things other Penn State.
Yeah, and when I think about high energy, well, obviously there's me. There's the
Yeah.
unicorn here, and then there's Sebastian. So that's when I came in, you guys might know about my Seattle Baseline podcast. That's the original podcast of the Baseline Podcast Network. And now we've got We Are Baseline Podcast. He was my first call. So I'm excited to start this. And today we are going to be talking about the core of 2026 Penn State football. We are going to be talking about the coaching staff.
Mhm.
When we started 2025, our former coach, James Franklin, said, this is the best team that he's coached. This is the team that can go and win a championship. That didn't happen. Actually, the opposite happened. We lost to UCLA, and then we lost to Northwestern. James Franklin gets fired. And then now we have Matt Campbell after having
Yep.
Terry Smith as a substitute head coach. And so now we get to talk about Matt Campbell. The We Are Baseline podcast is starting, and then Matt Campbell's journey starts as well. So we've got two journeys starting today. I'm super excited, and I'd love to hear what you think about Matt Campbell.
Um, First off, obviously, thank you for having me, Julian. As when for it goes with Matt Campbell, I am truly excited to see where it goes. Listen, we had a decade of Franklin. We had a decade of, oh, we're going right to the top of the roller coaster. We're right there. And then we fall all the way back down and like kill everyone waiting in line. But it was just that constant cycle. I thought these last 2 years were going to be something magical. We got to the semis last year. We could say if buts or maybes about how that game went. I truly think we had it in us. Just when it mattered most, we couldn't pull out the guns fast enough. And then this year started off great 3-0, and again, hopefully I think we'll get into it a little bit later on what we think happened and how we hope to see this next year transpire. But as for Matt Campbell, I think I have high hopes between him bringing his entire pretty much roster of Indiana. So they already have the culture behind him. I already hear he's doing big things up
Iowa
at Penn
State.
State. What's that?
Iowa State, you said Indiana.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Matt
He
Campbell is
is.
amazing. He's got his burger.
This freaking-
Pepperoni, and what was it? Italian dressing.
Italian dressing
hamburger.
on a burger with pepperoni is not something I would ever put on a burger, but when we get up there, we're gonna have to try it. So
Yeah, and
that will be a future episode.
I have higher hopes than James Franklin's turkey burger. I'll say that much about this. Like,
Talk about a disgrace.
yeah,
Like, no wonder we
seriously.
sucked for a decade. When your burger is turkey burger, oh my, just give me an Impossible Burger at that point. They both suck. But just give me a straight burger with cheese and a couple dressing, like a couple toppings and maybe a sauce. I mean, Campbell just went way past the point, but the burger will be something to try.
Yeah,
But I'm hyped for Penn State football 2026. We got Terry Smith, we got Campbell coming in. Like I said, he's bringing in his entire crew, and I'm already hearing good things. I'm hearing some good culture building, and I feel that we're gonna have a lot to talk about in the upcoming episodes as the year progresses.
yeah. And one guy you just mentioned, Terry Smith.
Mm.
I think that's the glue. That's the Penn State glue, where Matt Campbell is the coach that Penn State said, hey, we need a better coach than James Franklin. We need a home run type of coach. If we don't get a home run type of coach, then everybody's going to leave us.
Yep.
We walked out of the stadium after the Indiana game, and we heard many people talk about how if we don't get a good coach, then it's over. Penn State is officially not one of the top schools to play at anymore.
Yep.
And Matt Campbell is that guy. But the glue of the team is Terry Smith. Terry Smith is the type of guy where he doesn't have all of the experience. He doesn't have like Matt Campbell has all that experience at Iowa State. He knows when to call the timeouts. He knows how to manage the time. One thing that Terry Smith does better than anybody in college football is in the locker room. He can rile up his troops. He is the most loved coach in terms of personality, and I think that there's something big in that. Everybody on that team wanted Terry Smith to be the next head coach. And I think though he's not the next head coach, him being under somebody like Matt Campbell, who's a technically profound coach, having and from Matt Campbell's perspective too, having someone like Terry Smith who everybody loves. He's a Penn State guy that's literally the glue in the clubhouse. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a really big that's going to be massive. And whenever I do the Seattle Baseline podcast, I talk about a guy named Dan Wilson, the head coach of the Seattle Mariners. And I thought that Dan Wilson was really similar to Terry Smith, somebody that doesn't have much experience, but in turn has a lot of locker room energy. Everybody loves him. Dan Wilson was the catcher for the Seattle Mariners, and everybody loves the guy. He is a Mariner at heart. Terry Smith is a we are Penn State Nittany Lions at heart.
Through and
And
through.
I think I think that this type of energy is something that some teams are missing. And honestly, it has a possibility of taking Penn State to the playoffs and even to the championship.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, he's an alum. He was a wide receiver for our blue and blue and white. So he obviously brings what it meant to be a Penn State football player even back then. Uh, I might have my years a little fudged here. That was under Paterno, correct?
Yes.
So he was a football player at the height of what Penn State football was during that Joe Paterno era. And so he's been around the block. Yes, he's not as seasoned a coach as obviously Franklin was, or obviously Hal Campbell is. They held head coach positions. Terry Smith didn't have that. But what I think he does bring to the table that neither of them do is what it truly means to bleed white and blue. I know what I am. I'm a Penn Stater through and through. I love my friends' campuses, but I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. Now, we could say all that jazz about always Penn State and this and that. I like what you said earlier. When he gets in the locker room with the guys, we obviously see that. Yes, we didn't win every single game. We didn't win every game. But you know what we did do? We fought all 4 quarters. We fought every single quarter. I remember being at Ernest's house. We watched the Iowa football game and just, man, it was an exciting game to watch. Between the blocked field, did they return the field goal or block it?
They blocked and then returned it for a 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between that and then Grunkemeyer just, doing Grunk things, just there was heart. It was so good to watch Penn State again. And we had big names. We obviously had our running backs. We had our defensive stars. We didn't have a Saquon Barkley. We didn't have that Trace McSorley type player. But we did have great, great athletes. We had phenomenal. We had Singleton. We had the equivalent of Knuckles and Sonic. And then who's our defensive guy that you love so much?
Oh yeah, I love Tony Rojas.
Yeah, Tony
Sadly,
Rojas.
sadly he's injured right now, and we will 100% have an episode about him. Honestly, we might have an episode just strictly about him.
Just
Because
Rojas.
yeah, what one of my favorite players on the field. This is one of those guys that if he's on, he is literally the best the
He
best
can do it
players on the
all.
field. Yeah, he's one of the best players on the field
Hmm.
every night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what obviously Penn State defense looks like, not only under the new administration, but with a team captain like that on the field with them, healthy. Oh, it's gonna be fun to watch. But as I was mentioning, yeah, we don't have those big stars. We have stars, we don't have the big thing like obviously your Saquons. But we had a lineup of guys, even when they were lesser known, that were fun to watch because they had a little call him what you will. We had a pug. A little pug dog is our coach, Terry Smith. He looks so adorable. Just standing there with his big linemen who are double his height. You saw like pinch his cheeks. But I can only imagine what that halftime and that locker room talk is. All I can imagine is him getting so riled up, tears start coming down because of how confident and how much he loves Penn State. So I'm really excited to see what he has to bring, not as the head coach this year, but as, like you said, the glue that binds the whole team, the glue that binds this Iowa State football team coming to Happy Valley. He's the glue that brings them all together and what forms an actual Nittany Lion. It's the pride and it's tradition. So I just keep saying it over again. I can't wait for 2026 Penn State football. We have an interesting schedule looking ahead. Sadly, no Ohio State, but I think if we play the season right, we'll be meeting them in the playoffs. I think that's how it's gonna go.
Oh yeah.
So
We're either gonna meet them at the semifinals before we meet Oregon in the finals. Whatever happens, but I think you went straight to the point there. That was really good because I think that Terry Smith being the assistant head coach was one of the best decisions Matt Campbell could have made.
mhm,
And Matt Campbell doing that already shows how much he respects somebody like Terry Smith, who
mhm,
said, who was offered a position to be a head coach at other teams and said, no, I want to stay at Penn State.
mhm.
And I think that's going to be an interesting one. Um, Matt Campbell being the technician of the group, I think that's going to shine a lot through Terry Smith. Terry Smith puts the glue on, and then Matt Campbell gives the instruction. Everything should work out. And I am really excited to see this team play next year.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting butterflies just thinking about it. I would like to ask a question because obviously it seems like you know a little bit more about the incoming and impending staff as compared to myself. You were mentioning the offensive coordinator a good bit before the call. You want to talk about that? Some key
Yeah.
points for us to look out for?
Yeah, I love Taylor Mauser. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator. One of the big reasons for that is because just like Matt Campbell, he's technically sound. He will give a play. This is the play that I want. All of his plays just it works every time.
Hmm.
And I think with an organization like Penn State who is able to give him the resources and the talent that he's looking for, Taylor Mauser is going to take another step forward. People focus on Matt Campbell, but I think Taylor Mauser is one of those guys that people need to watch out for because this is one of those offensive coordinators that even with a team like Iowa State, which is it's not a bad team, but it's definitely middle of the pack
Hmm.
compared to somewhere like a Big Ten, Penn State, definitely not as much resources. And he was able to do what he did. Matt Campbell had a better record against top 10 teams than James Franklin did with Penn State. And
Not hard to beat.
so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch for because if they were able to do that in Iowa State, what can they do at Penn State when now they have all of the best of Iowa State coming into Penn State with the talent that Penn State already has? We mentioned Tony Rojas earlier. There are really good players that are staying with Penn State that I think Taylor Mauser is going to just take them to the next level.
Yeah, you said it right there. I mean, obviously, Campbell had success at Iowa State with their funding, with their resources, just imagine what you could do at Penn State. And already, if you take a one-to-one comparison, you already hit the nail on the head. You take Franklin, top 10 ranked opponents, to Campbell. I mean, it's not hard competition. Like, you could say the stereotypes as much as you want, but he truly was afraid and of playing competition. And we can get into that if you wish, but I almost I am curious though, and I forget his name. It escapes me. We had Ohio State's offensive coordinator last year coming off of uh, a championship run, and it seemed to do borderline nothing for us in terms of the like at least under the Franklin administration. I want to hear your thoughts on how we already take a top tier echelon offensive coordinator. What was his name again?
Andy Kotelnicki. So
Andy Kotelnicki, and then how that's going to translate into. I imagine we didn't keep him, or did we keep him?
no, we didn't.
We didn't
We
keep him.
we let Andy Kotelnicki go because he was a James Franklin guy. And then now we have Matt Campbell in. Taylor Mauser's taking over that spot.
Hmm.
Andy Kotelnicki was amazing at his in the middle of the game in halftime. He was able to create the plan that could beat any team. That's why
Hmm.
Penn State, known as the second half team,
We really
they
were.
that's what they did. Andy Kotelnicki goes in there. The creative mind that he is just goes in and makes the plays. One thing that stood out to me with Kotelnicki, though, he wasn't able to win the first half against mostly anybody that's relevant when it comes to college football.
Yeah,
Obviously, like if you're beating Villanova or
Nevada or
Nevada,
Greenville.
yeah,
Like
like if you're beating them in the first half, then that's not the same as beating Oregon in the first half. And
Michigan, someone of actual, like you like you're
yeah,
saying,
like actual
actual
pedigree.
magnitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andy Kotelnicki wasn't able to do that. Even against those teams, Villanova, for example, you look at the final score and Penn State blew them out, but the first half, they were only up by 14. The the whole strategy in the first half wasn't working. Run, second or third down and 8.
Run it again.
Not yeah, like it doesn't work.
No.
And you have to make the passes to be able to open up the run game, and that's something Andy Kotelnicki failed to do in the first half. In the
I
Indiana game, the reason that Nick Singleton was able to run as much as he did, the defender ran into the ref. That's true, but at the same time, Andy Kotelnicki used the pass on first down, and he was able to complete the passes with Grunkemeyer. Now the run is open. That's what he was able to do. He couldn't do that in the first half. If he did that in the first half, he'd be one of the better coaches. And I think that's something that Taylor Mauser understands. He is from start to finish a consistent coach when it comes to that. And the the second half stuff that Andy Kotelnicki was able to do, good coaches like Taylor Mauser do the same thing. Taylor Mauser will go in there, he will make his plays. He is actually one of the best play technicians in college football.
mm,
His creative plays are incredible. And that's part of their success. That's a really big part of their success. And so I'm excited to see what Taylor Mauser's strategy is in the first half versus what his strategy is in the second half. How does he adapt? What's his motion play going into a game? And then what's his strategy? How does he adapt against teams like Ohio State, who clearly they're going to have a strategy against Penn State? They're Oregon, they're going to have a strategy against Penn State. You
right.
can't just sit on the same strategy the whole time. And so I'm excited to see how these coaches are able to change the game when it comes to these types of teams.
Yeah. Lots of things to definitely look out for. Another one, actually, another name we are going to be speaking about in a future episode. Incoming Rocco Beck. I mean, he's another one of those guys that, I mean, I could hand the mic to you right now and we could go in on him Like you preach very highly about this young man. And I'm
100%.
very, very excited to see how this goes. And if what you're saying is true, and our new coaching staff actually enjoys football from more than a runner's perspective, um, I think we have a puncher's chance in really taking this college football scene in 2026 by storm. Because as of right now, we're not ranked, are we? We're not going to be a
We're
good,
we're
well
we're
ranking,
ranked. We're ranked, but we're
not
not
top 10.
ranked. We're not ranked number 2 like we were last year.
Mm-mm.
And the reason for that is because there's so much uncertainty. Next episode, I'm gonna be or next episode, I wanna talk about Rocco Becht and how I think that he is one of the best, could be the best with certain changes to his game compared to last season. There is such a high possibility of Rocco coming out and taking us by storm, and I'd love to discuss that next next episode right before the blue and white game. So that's going to be super fun. We're going to have a blue and white game pre show basically, and
Yep.
Rocco Becht center stage. This is the guy that we're going to be looking at because this is the quarterback and he has all the possibility in the world with what I think that he could change with his game. He will take us by storm. So, Sebastian,
It's the
I
flick
want
of
to
that
ask
wrist
you
you
if,
keep talking about. It's the
yeah,
flick of his wrist.
I want to ask, you have any more thoughts you want to say for this episode about the coaching staff, or
I mean, one final thing, and you can cut me off if I'm talking too much, but I've mentioned this quite a few times now off the podcast, but I think from the limited information we've heard and seen from, for example, the Penn State football Instagram page, and from what Campbell said in particular, I think we have a team of dogs coming this year. One thing I love, and it was like one of the first things I saw about this whole new Campbell regime, is in practices they split up in a blue and white. If you are on the losing team, you have to clean the entire facility. And I absolutely love that. I think Franklin was a great, great, great recruiter, all-time recruiter. He was a man people wanted to play under. He was your friend. He went to players' houses when they got drafted. That is a phenomenal man. That is a man you want in your corner. That is a man you want on a resume. That's not a man you want to call. That's a man you want by your side 24/7, it seems. The thing I personally think Franklin lacked was that he got lost too much in the fact of being that big brother, that best friend, that mentor towards the players, that he lost track of what his technical job title is, and that's a coach. Yes, there's more to coaching than just we're going to hit the patch, we're going to hit him hard. You got to be a mentor. Football isn't the only thing about life. A lot of these kids don't go to the NFL, they don't go to the AFL, they don't go past this point in their football journeys. So, as a coach, you do have to train them and teach them life lessons to take further on because they have so much to live for, so much they're going to do.
100%?
But at the end of the day, there is a job, and the job is to be a football coach. And perfect example, I go back to the dynasty of Alabama football under Nick Saban, the great Nick Saban. He was borderline. You could see it in the interviews. You can see it the way the players acted on the field in practice, on a win and after a loss. After a loss, I truly think is where I personally get to see Nick Saban shine, and I really have high hopes for Campbell in what I've seen so far. For example, Alabama, after a loss, Nick Saban, if it's a respectable loss, not like one they should have won, a loss where it came down to just a few minor details, extreme ownership, extreme ownership was what really separated Nick Saban and that Alabama just run compared to anything else. He wouldn't go, we just did it wrong. We're getting, we're like losing this, and that. He goes, my guys out here played hard. We did everything we could. And he genuinely, he would die on the shield for these men. I have high hopes that's what Campbell's going to do. I also have high hopes he's going to take that same approach of, I'm going to push these guys from coal into diamonds. He's going to give them the pressure needed to shape them into something beautiful without over pampering them or without over burning them where injuries arise. So I know I said a lot, and I know my mind goes to here, and there, and the dots in my head connect. I hope they do over there. But moral of the story is I am hyped for Penn State football in 2026, and I'm so excited to see what this new coaching staff has. And I'm gonna turn back over to you, Julian, or else I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that Matt Campbell is bringing an excellent group of players, the best of Iowa State, matching with the best of Penn State.
Yep.
This is going to be the 2026 season, and we'll be talking about what to watch for in the blue and white game on the next episode. I am very excited to talk about that because I have a lot of thoughts when it comes to the blue and white game. But as for our first episode, thank you everyone for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our beautiful faces on YouTube. Check out our Instagram. And as always, we are
Penn State.